Well, thank you all for coming tonight. Please drop in the chat. Let us know where you're zooming in from. For anybody who might be new, we just want to say welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Red, White, and Blue is a community of over 700,000. We just went over 700,000 people, women across the country who are focusing on local organizing, who are trying to defeat extremism where they live. We love to have you guys in community with us. This is what we need right now. We need our people, which is why we want you here tonight talking about how do you organize in your local community and build those friendships and do that work together to really make a difference where you live. Okay, I'm going to make sure everybody can see my screen. Everyone's good, can see. Okay. All right, so before we get started, to say welcome to Troublemaking 101. And like I said, this is going to be all about local organizing and how you can make a difference. So we know there's a lot of chaos going on right now. A lot of people are feeling very overwhelmed. And that is why it is so important to engage in local organizing, to build these local groups, because people are looking for that community right now. They are looking around, they are feeling very alone. They are feeling like nobody thinks like I do. I live not in Tulsa, but I live in a pretty wet county near Cincinnati. I see a lot of things that I don't agree with on bumper stickers, people with shirts, conversations, and you can feel very alone. But I know I have my people. I have found my people where I live, and it makes such a huge difference. So we want to talk about how do we start something? How do we bring people in? How do we keep them engaged? And then how do we actually make a difference where we live? So we're going to talk about, like I said, how to start a grassroots group and how to make this incredible difference that you can in your own community. And like I said, I have actually done this myself, so I am not just teaching. I have actually done this work after the 2016 election. Like I said, I felt very alone where I lived. I was looking for other people, stumbled across a Facebook group, offered to help. Woman said, "Don't worry about it. I got it." 2 weeks later, I don't got it. We were growing so quickly. And it's been an amazing experience because I know that we've made an impact. We've elected people to office now that would never have been elected 5 or 6 years ago. And also developed friendships that have just been life-changing. So you can do it too. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight. You can really have an impact. I know the news talks constantly about what is going on at the federal level, what Congress is doing, what the Trump administration is doing, but you know where you can make a really big impact? State and local. Your local and elected officials actually have a much bigger impact in many ways on what happens in your day-to-day life because it impacts the roads you drive on, the schools that your kids attend, the laws that get passed in your state that actually have a much bigger impact on so many things. And local and state races are won and lost by very small numbers oftentimes. So when you organize and you get people turning out to vote and they're getting their friends to turning out to vote and they're talking to the people in their community about the issues, telling them what's going on at the local school, what's going on at their state government, you can actually make a difference. And we have seen people flip seats in their communities because they were doing this type of organizing. So you can also grow your power because let's say one thing, your state legislators, they don't get a lot of phone calls, okay? Congress is getting calls all the time and they do track those calls. Your state legislators, not so much. So if suddenly your town, they're getting 20, 30, 40 calls, they're gonna, that's gonna wake them up. That's gonna make them pay attention. And also, Congress is getting all of those calls, but if your congressperson gets a call from 100 constituents in one city, that makes a big impact. So by getting organized, you can make an impact at all these different levels. And then the other thing is that once you are organized, you are ready to take action when the next thing happens, right? When your legislature is trying to pass a horrible bill. I live in Ohio. It happens almost every day here. But we can be ready to take action on the things that we really care about and the things that we're focusing on. And then the other great thing about local organizing, and I can't stress this enough, is the relationships that you build, the people you meet that you may never have met anywhere else, the friendships that you will build. It is, like I said before, very life-changing. So we're going to talk a couple of things here, how to get started doing this. So we're going to talk about what you need to plan before you even launch. And then we're going to talk about basics of like organizing, how you're going to get started. And then we're going to dive into building momentum, keeping that people engaged, getting the group going, taking action, and then how to keep people engaged. Okay, so the first things we need to consider is the planning. So it sounds great, but it's really important to think some things through before you actually launch a group. So the first of all is, what is the purpose? So what is it that you want to focus on? So are you going to have a local group like mine, where we are really focused on our local and state elections and the issues that are happening there? Or maybe you want something that's just focused on your school board because that's what you truly care about. Maybe the group is concerned about LGBTQ plus rights, or maybe you're concerned about reproductive freedom. Whatever it is that you want to organize around, just think about that before you get started. You really want to know what you're doing, because as people are coming in, you want to be able to share what the vision is of what you want to do. The second thing you want to think about is who is welcome to be part of this group. So is this group open to anybody of any political affiliation? If anybody shares your values, they're welcome to come in, or do you want to limit it to certain political affiliations? Do you want to let people in who live only in your city, in your county, your school district? Like, how far afield do you want to go? And I say that because you want to set that parameter before you start, because otherwise things will grow out of control. You might lose focus. My local group, we only permit people who live in our city in. And that is because we want to focus on our local elections, on our state house representative. We don't want to start talking about issues in multiple school districts. We don't want to start talking about multiple state legislators. So that's our focus. And the thing I like to emphasize too is that you need to enforce that rule, because once you start building a group and people start seeing the value of this community and finding your people, they are going to want to invite other people in. So my sister lives 3 towns away. My best friend lives over 2 counties. I want her in this group. You need to be very clear on what the rules are and enforce them, because otherwise, like I said, it will become out of control and you will lose focus. So just thinking through those 2 things. What is our purpose? What are we trying to accomplish? What are we going to focus on? And who are we welcoming into this group? Who is allowed to be part of this? The next thing that we're going to talk about is communication. So great, you want to start something, and Missy is going to come on here and talk to you about our Trouble Nation platform and how you can start a group on there. But how are you going to communicate? A lot of people, we all love to hate Mark Zuckerberg right now. We have lots of issues with Facebook. I will say, though, that Facebook can be a really great way to start a group, because you can have those online back and forth communications. You can start a closed private group that other people can't find. You can control who enters. And it's a very easy and low barrier to entry, because you don't have to go to a rally or show up in a meeting. You just click join a group. And like I said, you can screen who comes in, you can control that. So there's a lot of protections around that. But that's not the only way to communicate. A lot of people, if you're younger, like my kids, are not on Facebook, right? That's not going to work. Great for me. I'm in my 50s. No problem. All my friends are there. But maybe it's better to do, like an email chain. I had talked to some women who live in a retirement community, and they don't do social media, but they do email. So they had a great listserv and they just did an email chain. But there's also things like Signal, right? Or WhatsApp. There are other tools out there that you can use to communicate. So just thinking through, how are we going to do this? What's our best way for us to do that before you start? Because once you start and the ball starts rolling and people start wanting to join, you want to make sure you have a plan as to how are we going to get them on? How are we going to talk to them? What are we going to have them join in order for us to communicate? Then the last thing I like to think through is just your name. That may sound very basic, but it's actually kind of a big deal. Because your name kind of shares what you're all about. It shares your vibe. It could be as simple as just what you're organizing around: reproductive freedom for this, or standing up for LGBTQ plus kids, or, um, you know, Mason, Ohio school board advocates, whatever that may be. But we have some really fun and amazing names in Trouble Nation, which is part of Red, Wine, and Blue. We have the Childless Cat Ladies. We have Women Who Get Shit Done. That just is a whole different vibe, and it really does translate a little bit about what your group's going to be like. So thinking through, what is that name? What is it that you want to call this group? Okay, so you got all of that stuff figured out, and now you're ready to go. You are going to launch. So it is time to start organizing. So you might think, and a lot of us think this, we're like, I only know a few people who feel like me. I feel like my circle is kind of small. That's okay. Start with the people that you know. I promise you it will grow because you know people and then they know people, and everyone will start inviting people. Julie and I have done this training. I can't even tell you how many times now. And I have never had anybody come back to me and say, I started something and nobody joined. It's more like they call me back and they say, I started something and holy crap, there were 100 people at the second meeting. So um, that is the mindset. So start inviting people that you know, people who share your values, who agree with you on this, and then ask them, of course, to invite their friends. The next thing you can do is, go out there on social media. If you're okay with being public about your group, go out there and talk about it. If this is something you really would rather keep private and under the radar, which is how we started ours, that's fine. Maybe you are a person who likes to post on social media about politics, about what you care about. Maybe you want to share red wine and blue content. That's great. Post that stuff out there. See who likes it. See who comments on it. Those are the people that you then reach out to and say, hey, by the way, we got this group. You should come join. If you are not one of those people, if you do not like to be public on social media, that's fine. You have friends who are, go check out their posts. Go see who's on those things. There are many ways that you can, find those people. Maybe there's other people who join your group who love social media posting and they can help do that. And then as people are joining, make sure that you are telling them, hey, invite your friends. Like that could be one of the things you say at every meeting. That could be something you send out in a reminder, something you post in a Facebook group, and inviting people and bringing people in. And then as we've kind of talked about, it is important to have a way to communicate. Social media is great, but it has limitations because you can go post something in a Facebook group, doesn't mean everybody in the group is going to see it, right? The algorithm controls what shows up for you. I manage our Facebook group and I don't even see half the posts that get out there. So you really do want to find a way to get information so you can contact people in real life. One of the pro tips that we use for our Facebook groups at Red Wine and Blue is when people are joining and they have those membership questions, like I agree to the rules and all of that, you can ask things like, hey, Facebook won't show you all the cool things. If you want to keep in touch in real life, give us your email address, your phone number. And people do. And then you just want to build that list, right? So you build that list offline, and then you can communicate with people about your next meeting. You can send that email, you can send that text, you can use your social media, you can do all of the things. So definitely find a way to try to get information in real life and off of line. The other thing that I do in my group is every couple of months I drop a Google form and I'm like, hey, have you guys got on our mailing list yet? And just ask people to do. And I always get several people who will fill that form out and give that to me. You will be very surprised, I promise, on how fast these groups will grow. Okay, so now you've launched, you are up and running, you are building, you are bringing in members, you're getting their information, you're able to communicate with them. It is time to meet. It is time to keep building that momentum and getting people together. So the one thing I always say, and the reason we are red wine and blue, and wine is not because you have to drink, it is because it's a metaphor for the social and the fun. Organizing is hard work. You are going to have ups, you are going to have downs, you are going to win some, you are going to lose some. But it is about building community and making it fun and building those friendships, and that is why people come back. So hold your first meeting, think about how can we make it fun. Where are we holding it? Maybe someone's house would be great if you think it's going to be enough, if 20 people are coming and you can do that. We used to hold them in our municipal building. Not quite as fun, but that's what you got to do. You got to do. Can you go find a restaurant, a bar? I know there's price limitations, but just kind of thinking through like, okay, where can we do this? Is it fun? Maybe you have to do it on Zoom. Maybe that's the best way to do this, but you can still have fun by doing that. Encourage people to bring a friend, making sure that they have someone to hang out with while they're there. And then social time. We always start our meetings about a half hour early so people can come and just chat. You can do that on Zoom too. You can have a happy hour 30 minutes before so that people could come and have those conversations. Then once you get started, you can have icebreakers, you can have ways for people to introduce themselves. I would definitely control that because sometimes people will talk for 2 hours about themselves and then your meeting is over. But, you know, having that quick icebreaker, having a way for people to introduce themselves, and then make sure you start by having an agenda. You want to be very conscious of people's time, right? A lot of people stop going to some of the political party meetings because they're there for hours and it just seems to run on. You want to have an agenda. You want to know what you're going to talk about. You want to have a time frame that you want to stay in, because people aren't going to return if they feel like it was a waste of their time. Like I said, having a brief time for introductions, icebreakers, and then what are some of the things you could potentially do? You know, there are a million things, but you could invite a speaker who's, can talk about an issue that's going on in your community. You could bring in an elected official to talk about like what a school board does. A lot of people don't know the basics of civics right now. The state legislature, somebody on your library board, you can bring in people to have those conversations. You can find, like I said, people with expertise on an area to come talk about maybe their professional life. They work in a certain area. They can come talk about an issue with what's going on with book banning, or they can talk about like something with public education that's at the state house. They can give you can give an overview yourself of like what different offices do. There are so many other things you can do, and what you want to really as ask people, what is it that you want to learn about? What are the things that you all want to do? And you want to get people an action to take as they're leaving, whether that is as basic as attend or watch a school board meeting, call your legislator about an issue, give them something to do. There's a group called Rowan's List, and they give actions every day that people can take. You can share that out. Give them resources, read up on this issue. We've recently just formed little committees on different issues in our state, like public education, gun violence prevention, and we've made little teams, and we're going to be tracking like what's going on because there's so much going on right now, that can be very overwhelming. And so we're breaking it down into those little pieces, and people are going to track that and come back and report out. Like I said, we're going to make it fun. We want to make it overwhelming, and we're going to give you some more suggestions on the second half of this training. Before we do that, I am really excited to bring up Kelly, who is out there doing this. And I want her to come share her experience so you can hear what it is like for somebody in a very red part of our country doing this work right now. I'm going to bring up Julie and Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for coming and joining us this evening and sharing with us about your group. The one thing I didn't ask you is, what is the name of your group?
Good Trouble Tulsa.
Good Trouble Tulsa. All right. So tell these folks how this group actually started. Diane, tell them about Diane.
Oh my God, Diane is, I should have like found a picture and printed it out of her. Diane is just like the sweetest. She is in her 80s, and she and some of her friends started in her living room last like July or August, about 10 of them in their living room, just sitting around talking. And it has morphed into a few more people than that. Really, with the election, I think it started, kind of bubbling up a little more. They got a little more feisty. And then really with January, with the inauguration, it ramped up a little heavier, and they started meeting. And the first meeting, I believe, was in like a restaurant, like a little side room at one of our restaurants downtown.
And so your April meeting had how many people?
Our April meeting we had over 300 people at our April meeting. So this thing has caught wildfire, and it is blown up.
And you were saying that you are getting about 50 new members a month?
Every month. Yeah.
And so how are you getting the word out?
We have, like I heard about it. So I'm not the spearhead. I'm kind of one of the co-leads, I guess. Teresa is the one who has spearheaded this. That is Diane's daughter. And so she has been the one kind of manhandling this. And then I kind of saw her at one of the meetings, and seeing how this thing has just blown up. And I offered to help her because I saw how what was going on. And I just was like, Teresa, do you need some help? Because I'm a marketing person. I have a marketing agency. And I was like, do you need help with marketing? Do you need help? And she was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh my God, yes. So we've just kind of been like, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need? So that's kind of what we've been doing. And sorry, what was your question?
Oh, well, I was just talking about how, what you've been doing and how you gotten the word out so that
Oh
you've
yeah, the
grown
word,
like this.
sorry. Yeah, we just, so I heard about it, like a friend of mine who knows that, that which way I lean, which, like, as you mentioned, we are in deep red MAGA country. We are the reddest, literally the reddest, state in the union. So we know who each other are, around town. And so I heard about it, somebody invited me to the first meeting. But we are, using Facebook, word of mouth, that as a marketer, that's the most powerful form of advertising. But we're using Facebook and I've gotten involved. So, just really social media. I mean, I'm posting on my personal network just because I have a lot of people in my personal and professional network that, that I know lean like I do, and I want to get the word out. If I don't see them, face to face, I want them to know. And we're a women's group, so we are, it's just women. There is another group in town that's called Indivisible Tulsa County, and they are women and men. So we push, if they want to bring their husbands, we push them to that group. But really, it's word of mouth and social media. And then we
Well,
are
word
collecting.
of mouth, that's that relational organizing that we talk about all the time, inviting your friends and family and
Yeah,
so yes, and your neighbors. So that's great.
right.
Um, so how are you keeping people involved? What kinds of things are you all doing?
Well, we are really the monthly meetings. That is primarily how we're keeping people involved. We have been collecting email addresses, through the Trouble Nation. That's how people have been finding us. And then the monthly meetings, we have been having them RSVP. So that's, we've been collecting their email addresses that way. And then I've been doing a monthly newsletter. So we do a recap of the meeting, and then we've been just putting a bunch of information in that newsletter, and we send a recap. I mean, we have all kinds of information in there, because we want, we want action is one of the big things. Is, we give them information about, how to make calls, and we educate them. So in our meetings, it's all about education. We bring in speakers, and we are educating on all of the issues. We bring in, like you were mentioning, Julie, all of the, because a lot of, there's so much going on, and it's just an overload. And so really, really one of the important things is just educating people, because, we just aren't educated on these things. And so bringing in these speakers, the point people who do know about immigration law. We had an immigration attorney who actually knows the law, and reproductive rights, a woman who is that's what she does. And we have, all these speakers who that's what they do. So they are experts and thought leaders in that respective area. We bring them in. We bring legislator. We bring people who are running for candidates, who are running for office and stuff. So
Well, you brought up a point, when you came to the meeting and introduced yourself and said, I can help with marketing. Julie will talk about later delegating things, and that you'll be surprised at how many people have different skill sets. So have you found that in your group too, that, not just you have marketing, but somebody else may know, art or, graphics, graphic design and
yeah.
those kinds of things. Have you found that as well?
Oh yeah. Like a friend of mine, one of my good friends, she had offered up, separate from me. I didn't know she'd done it. She had offered up her help. Because she kind of saw Teresa was, she'd offered up her help. Hey, can I help you manage all these names? Because it was just kind of all over the place. And she had offered up her help, and I didn't know she had offered her. She didn't know I had offered my help. And then since, that meeting a couple months ago, we've just been Teresa has been asking, we need help. We, as you can see, we're growing, and if you want to offer up, if you have talent, we are looking for people to head up the committees, and, we're looking for people. So, if you want to help, step up. So we're starting to organize now that we have, we have now, so you guys heard, so we had about 30 members, let's say in February. We have, I checked the Trouble Nation site. We have 545 people signed up on that site as of today.
That's
We
amazing.
had 25 members just sign up since Monday from the virtual event with Jasmine Crockett and Heather Cox Richardson.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that was explosive growth for all of us, I believe. So any final tips and tricks before we turn it back over to Julie?
Yeah, I'd say, you've got to start with connection. So our tagline is connect, engage, and mobilize. So you really can't leapfrog to mobilization. So you've got to start with connection. People don't show up for meetings. They show up for people. So host a casual, like if you're getting started, host a casual meetup, a coffee, a wine night, a brunch, something low pressure, low commitment, and really reinforce that you're not alone. That vibe is really magnetic right now, so you can leverage that and use it to find that first core group of like 3 to 5 committed women. That's your founding team. Like that's your gold right there. And then, like Julie said, pick your focus, but stay flexible. You don't have to tackle every issue at once. And early meetings should center around education, help women understand what's happening legislatively at the state and federal levels. Maybe start with 1 to 2 issues that hit hard locally, and then you can layer in more as the momentum builds. And then consistency. If you're meeting, like stay consistent. You don't have to be perfect, but just, monthly meetings are the heartbeat of the group. Keep the date, consistent, keep the time consistent. The consistency is really key. And then there is and you guys are probably going to go over this, but there's a Troublemakers guide on the site. You guys are probably going to mention that later, but there's a get shit done guide that I went through it, and it's got some really good information in it. So that's great.
All right, great. Well, Kelly, thank you so very much for coming and sharing. And I just love that, Diane, you are never too old. You can always do this.
Yes.
In her 80s, started
I
this
know
group
it.
that has grown into, 500 people. So
I
that's just
know. It's
absolutely
incredible.
fantastic. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you for having me.
We are going to bring up Missy because we want to tell you a little bit more about how we can help support you on doing this. Okay, and it's really funny. Kelly basically just said the things I was going to say, so this will be really quick. We're going to talk engagement. You have now launched your group. You've had your first meeting. You're trying to keep people engaged. The one thing I was going to say, and she just kind of said it, is be consistent. But, schedule your next meeting. You're having that first meeting. People are excited. They're meeting each other. Tell them when the next one is. Have the kind of a consistent schedule as possible so people know what to expect. And then what she just said, don't be afraid to do something fun. Not every meeting has to be serious. You don't have to be out there like, constantly planning the next thing that you're going to be doing. It is good to have fun, especially right now. Like Kelly literally just wrote that for me. So I saw somebody in the chat saying they wanted to do a book club. Perfect. Do the book club. Go just get together and get some appetizers and some drinks and hang out. It's fine. Building that community is the biggest piece of it. And then don't be afraid to ask people too. Like, what is it that they want to do? Get their feedback, get their information, because if they feel like what they want to get out of this is being met, they're going to keep coming back. And then you also heard Kelly talking about the delegation, right? You cannot do all of this by yourself. You will get overwhelmed. You want to ask other people for help. If somebody has a skill set like marketing, ask them, come help. They're good at social media. Ask them to come help you. The worst they can say is no. And sometimes people feel like, oh, I can't ask someone to do that. No one is going to be like upset when you say, I think you'd be really good at this. They might say no if they're too busy, but no one is not, is going to be offended because you ask them. So they should be flattered. So please go and ask people for help. And if people do that, then that is how they stay more engaged because they are now invested in what you are doing. Um, definitely find co-leaders, find people like Kelly just said, those 3 to 5 like ride or die people who are going to help you with this. And then, make sure you have a way to communicate with them. We have a separate channel for my group where we just talk to the leaders and we can like easily go back and forth. Just have a text chain for that. But you can definitely look for people like to help with social media, to help with marketing, to help plan those agendas for you, to help manage communications. They're lining up speakers. Like there are just so many different things that people can help you do. Um, all right, so we're going to go on to the next one. So here are some things that we could do at a meeting. You might be saying, okay, I'm ready to go. I can do this. But I feel a little intimidated about planning all of these meetings. Number one, we're going to talk to you about Trouble Nation. So we are here to help you and support you. We'll help you get connected with other women who are doing this so you can share ideas. But you can definitely also talk to, this is why you have co-leaders and people to bounce ideas off of. But these are some things that we always can do, like Kelly said, starting with education. People are just overwhelmed right now, don't even know how government works. I mean, we're leaning into civics at Red, Wine, and Blue right now, teaching the basic civics. So talking about, the issues, how do you track legislation, host your elected officials, or there's a ton of groups doing work like Planned Parenthood or the ACLU or anybody like that, like find speakers from those groups. Teach people skills like how to write a letter to the editor. Honestly, even just showing them how to make a phone call to a legislator, do it after hours when you get voicemail. But people watching someone else do that, it makes some people feel a little bit better. How to get public records requests from like your school board. Things you can also do, actions you can take, mutual aid right now, charitable events. People need help. How can your group help in your community, help other people? Going to school board, city council meetings together, finding those candidates that you want to support. That's a huge one, and working on those campaigns. Maybe there's a group that you care about, like say Planned Parenthood or whatever your issue may be, and they're going to have a day at the State House. Go to those days. Um, hey, get everybody involved in our relational organizing program, which is Rally Your Squad, where we're reaching out to our friends at election time. Work on creating a voting guide when it comes to elections so people know in the community who to vote for. There's so many different creative ways and things that you can do. And then, like I said, you don't want to forget to have fun with this. So these are just some ideas here on some fun things you can do. Game nights, trivia. We have a banned book bingo you can download from our website. Happy Unhappy Hours. One of our organizers in Pennsylvania does a stitching and bitching. They just come together and do their crafting and chit chat. Craftivism. I know a lot of people are making friendship bracelets right now, doing that kind of fun stuff. Book club we already talked about. Go to an event together. Like there was a group that I just met with tonight. They are going to watch a speaker that they all really wanted to hear. They met ahead of time, had some drinks, went together to the speaker. We've done axe throwing and rage rooms, like all that kind of fun stuff. So what I like to say is that women sometimes have to be asked multiple times to do something, that you can definitely do this. You heard from Kelly. New for her, she's doing this. She's got like 500 people in that group. So don't feel like you have to know all the answers. You don't have to have all the experience. You just have to be passionate about this. Someone needs to step up. So why not you? And like I said, I promise you won't be doing it alone for long. The other thing is we are always here for you. So I'm going to introduce Missy McGinnis now, who, like I said, runs our Trouble Nation program. And I'm going to bring her on so she can talk to you a little bit about how Red, Wine, and Blue will support your organizing.
Hello, everyone. If you have access to your raise hand function, I would love to see a raised hand or a comment in the chat if you are already a leader or a member of a Trouble Nation group, because I know I saw a few of you in there. So just wanted to see where you all are. If you want to share the next slide. Hi, Lauren. Awesome. So hopefully Julie and especially Kelly have motivated you, if you're not a member of a Trouble Nation group, if you're not a leader of a Trouble Nation group, that you would like to get started and organize in your community. I will just have to say I am complete awe of what Kelly and her group Good Trouble Tulsa are doing in Oklahoma. I mean, this 500 and about 50 members in just a few months is absolutely unbelievable in one of the reddest areas of the country. And I do want to share that most groups do not get to 550 within a couple of months. So that can be your goal, but don't make that your expectation. Smaller groups are absolutely fine. And if you just get some other people as you're organizing, that is completely fine. So it's absolutely wonderful, but it's not everybody's experience. But you can make yours the best it possibly can be. So let me tell you about our Trouble Nation program. Trouble Nation is Red, Wine, and Blue's national grassroots organizing program. And what we do is we help new local groups across the country get started. You know, a lot of our groups start from just one person. And we also help groups that have already been organizing, we help them grow and strengthen. And what our model is at Red, Wine, and Blue, which we really think is a great model, is that we're not creating chapters. What we are your groups remains independent of Red, Wine, and Blue, but at the same time, you still have access to our tools, trainings, and resources and other connections to help make your group stronger. Next slide, please. If you're kind of curious about where Trouble Nation is, this map shows the groups that have started and are live on our platform. So we've been around as Trouble Nation. We launched about 1.5 years ago, and our numbers, every single time I give a presentation like this, I have to update our numbers because we are now at 790 plus. I think it was 792 when I looked a few minutes ago, grassroots groups across the country. We are in all 50 states, and you see that little plus sign there. We also have a few groups of Americans living abroad, expats who are fed up with what's happening in our country and want to make a difference. In fact, just overnight, we had a group from Panama apply to join, and I believe they'll be welcomed into the program by the end of the week. So that's pretty exciting. Panama's got some reasons to want to organize in the US. And so collectively, these groups represent over 80,000 members, which is very exciting. Next slide, please. So you might be wondering, you know, who should join? As I mentioned a couple slides ago, that basically if we help existing groups, and if you're just, you know, groups that are already existing, maybe you're really established, or maybe you're just a few people and you've been organizing for a few months and you're looking to learn a little more. Or if you're just an individual and you feel a little alone in your community and you want to connect with others, this program is for you. But basically, if you just want to make a difference in your community, we'd love to try to help you. Next slide, please. So what we offer with Trouble Nation. So this slide essentially is our value proposition at a glance, and I'll walk you through it fairly quickly, but just so you understand kind of everything that we have to offer. The first on the far left is we help with new member recruitment. So what we do is, I think Julie mentioned at the start of today that more than 700,000 women and their allies, which includes anyone from the LGBTQ plus community, no matter how they identify, and also men who are fine with badass women. So we have over 700,000 people who fit those categories in our database. And what we can do is when you join the platform, we can promote your group or an event that you have. We can send an email out to our members who live in your area, telling them about your group and encouraging them to join your group or register to RSVP for an event that you have. And so that's been a really great way to get new members. Also, just as Kelly was saying, she just added, I think, 50 new members or maybe 25 new members since Monday, just by having a dot on our map. People are organically finding Trouble Nation and searching for connection near them. Just by having a dot on the map will likely lead to new members. Okay. The next hexagon is our dedicated landing page. And so every group that joins gets their own dedicated landing page. You get your own web address. Members can join, and anybody who joins your group, you see their name, their join date, and their email address. You can create events and petitions. There's a discussion feature and also a section for resources. And you can also you can link to other, if you're also organizing on a platform like Facebook, you can link your Facebook group to your discussion page. And maybe if that's where you're primarily organizing, you can encourage people to join you on that page. Okay, our third hexagon is connections with other leaders. So with almost 800 groups on our platform, we have a lot of Trouble Nation leaders who are part of our community, because many groups, including Kelly's, have more than one leader. And that is, as we've talked about tonight, that really is a best practice. We highly encourage you to find people to join you in leading your group. It can feel a lot less lonely and be a lot more fun, and take, alleviate some of the work that you have. So so with all these leaders, I would say we have over 1,000 leaders. We try to connect them in different ways. We have a Slack platform, which is a communication platform, maybe a little similar to Facebook Messenger, but organized a little bit differently, where we invite all Trouble Nation leaders to join and communicate in various channels, including one that is specific to your own state. So you can organize and connect with other leaders from your state. We also host live events for the sole purpose of connecting leaders with each other. So for example, we hold a monthly virtual happy hour where we invite leaders from across the country to come, and we keep these informal. We don't typically have an agenda. We might update you on one or two things related to Trouble Nation, but we mostly let you talk. And if the happy hours get big, we divide into breakout rooms. So it's nice, and we give an option to hear from everybody. So encourage you to tap into that, because as much as you're here tonight to learn from Red, Wine, and Blue, Trouble Nation leaders teach us on the Trouble Nation team just as much as we teach them. Like, we can all learn from each other, and that's kind of what makes the program really rich. Our fourth hexagon is leadership and advocacy training. So you're here tonight at one of Red, Wine, and Blue's national training programs, and which are absolutely amazing, several a week. We on the Trouble Nation team also hold training sessions that are geared specifically to what Trouble Nation leaders and leaders of grassroots groups are looking to learn to help them in their advocacy. And so actually, what we do is we hold these sessions live, and then we record them and we put them on our Trouble Nation resources page. And today, in fact, yesterday, we just launched our 2025 training series. And so, and now we're going to be holding a new training specifically geared for group leaders every other week. The fifth hexagon is exclusive content and opportunities. So I just mentioned before our Trouble Nation resources page, which is a network of web pages that are specifically geared for Trouble Nation leaders. There's really everything about the Trouble Nation program is there, and it's not publicly available on our website because it's really geared for Trouble Nation leaders. And so if you are a leader, or you're thinking of becoming one, know that this is a truly excellent resource. We also will offer certain event opportunities that are just open to Trouble Nation leaders, things that you can bring to your event, to your group, to engage them. And then finally, Red, Wine, and Blue support. So Red, Wine, and Blue, our Trouble Nation team is currently 4 people, but as of Monday we'll be 5, and in 3 weeks we will be 6. And so we are growing because our program is really growing. And as we've grown, we have it's really been a very important to our team to keep a personal touch with our leaders. And so what that means is that our team, we all open up our calendars for one-on-one appointments. So any leader can schedule a one-on-one, and we can troubleshoot. If you have questions about the program or navigating the Trouble Nation platform, or if you're just having any struggles, or even if you have an idea, we encourage you to come. We don't want you to struggle in silence. Come and talk to us, and we can hopefully help navigate this. So we also, in addition to the one-on-one appointments, we are responsive on Slack. You can send us emails, and you can participate in, we hold live new group orientation trainings once a week, and several other opportunities. So lots of ways to reach us. Next slide, please. Just mentioned the Trouble Nation resources page. So this is just showing you a little bit more about it. So as I mentioned before, we have content, event recordings, tools for Trouble Nation leaders, ways that our team can help you. Like, you can request those emails to send out to people in your area, all from the Trouble Nation resources page. Next slide, please. And oh, you know what? I actually thought we were going to see a slide. I may have been thinking of a different presentation, but this one, Troublemakers Guide. So maybe I just organized these slides kind of differently. But this, Kelly mentioned the Trouble Nation Guide to Starting and Growing a Grassroots Group. And so this guide is I think it's a 25 or 30-page digital booklet that helps you get started. If you're new to organizing, or if you've just kind of run out of ideas, I think you will find several new ideas, if not many new ideas in this guide. And really, no matter where you are in your organizing journey, something in this guide might help you in your organizing efforts. And so I'd encourage you to read it. And this is housed on our Trouble Nation resources page, along with a host of other resources. So this is our team. I mentioned that we're 4 right now, soon to be 6. And we just, we're motivated every day to help groups grow and develop. So that's what we do. Next slide. And so hopefully I've convinced you, if you're not a Trouble Nation leader, that you want to either join a group, find one that's in your community, or start your own. And so what you can do, we've had QR codes all over this presentation, but that left QR code under join a group or start your own will take you to the Trouble Nation landing page. There's a map there where you can plug in your zip code or your city and state, and you can find out if there are groups near you. If you don't find a group that's near you, or if you do see a group that's near you, but it doesn't look like it's very active, or it doesn't look like it's your vibe, you can absolutely start your own. We have a number of communities that have more than one group, and that's completely fine. Once you join, or let's say you start a group and your group is accepted, please don't stop there. Please, we highly, highly encourage everybody to join us for our new group orientation. We offer it live every Friday at noon Eastern. If that time we know doesn't work for everyone, we have a recording of the training on our website. We encourage you to either join us live, preferably join us live, but if you can't, watch the recording, because there's a lot about the program, and we want to encourage you to take advantage of everything that we have to offer. We've also found that new group orientation isn't quite enough, because we a little bit force you to drink from a fire hose, because there's a lot to learn about the program. And so what we encourage everybody to do after they've either participated in or reviewed the new group orientation is to participate in our 4-week launch sequence. We name them after fabulous, badass women in history. And so that's kind of fun. You learn a little bit about, the woman who's named for your cohort of your launch sequence. And each week we take a different section of the Trouble Nation program, and we chunk it out into bite-sized pieces. We give you a little bit of homework. You get to interact in a small group community with other leaders who are new to the program. And the goal is that by the end of the 4-week launch sequence that you are launched. And finally, the last hexagon here is office hours. And so when we're busy, when we're especially busy, like we are right now, as Kelly said, we had this huge event on Monday with Heather Cox Richardson and Jasmine Crockett, which has led to more than 60 new group applications and more than 2,500 new members to Trouble Nation groups across the country. So just for these couple of weeks, we have shut down those one-on-one appointments, but we've opened up because we want to be able to reach and answer questions from as many people as possible. So in its place, we've offered office hours every single day, except for the weekends. We offer at least an hour of office hours where you can just pop in and get your question answered, and that should hopefully help you. But as soon as the rush goes away, we will start those one-on-ones back up again. Now, next slide, please. And so finally, this is us. So if you couldn't capture the QR code, you can go to redwine.blue/Trouble-Nation. That will take you to the same place. It's the Trouble Nation landing page, and that's where you can find a group or start a group.
Okay, I'm going to bring us up, and I don't know if there was a ton of questions, but I did see a couple. So we will bring us up and see if there's any other questions in the chat. If you guys do have questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat.
And I will go ahead and get started with them. One of the questions that was asked was about men. And I know that, Missy, some of the groups that you have across the nation do actually have men members in them.
Yes. So I think I saw that question come in and I tried to address it just on the fly during the presentation is that yes. So Red Wine and Blue was begun as a community to be a welcome community for women to enter political engagement, primarily suburban women. But as we've grown and developed, our content and our trainings are appealing to lots of people. And what we found is that, we are still very much predominantly women, but some men who share our values have also joined Red Wine and Blue and have joined Trouble Nation. In fact, of those 790 groups, we have maybe 2 that actually have leaders who are men. So it's a small segment, but that's absolutely fine. And I just like to say that it's, men who are fine with badass women, you come aboard. That is absolutely fine. And so the men who are the leaders, and from what I can gather, the men I know who are members, they are absolutely fit that, and they love when they've heard me say that too. So yes.
Well, I'll tell you the questions that I have. They're not a whole lot of them, but the questions that I actually have are very much about running their groups. So someone asked about managing their contact list. How do you manage your contact list? Because someone said they had like 400 people and it was getting unwieldy. So what's a recommendation for that?
So I saw Kelly answered that in the chat. I can comment, or Julie did, but I love, hearing what either of you do.
Well,
Well, I
I
was gonna say,
always like, oh, sorry. I always
go.
like to repeat them in case somebody didn't get to see them.
I think Kelly was talking about setting up a database for her team, but I mean, I can tell you that my group, we have about, oh gosh, I've lost track of how many people are on our email list. I mean, it's in the hundreds. We're not as sophisticated, like we really just use Google Sheets and like Google Forms so we can capture that information. But Kelly, you were talking about a actual CRM database type thing for your group.
Yeah, we haven't implemented that yet because we're trying to get I want to get a strategy together for what we're doing before we get that together. But I have a platform that I have it in it, and it actually is great. It has social media management. It has like a whole private community that you can build out in it. So I mean, it would be a great deal for anybody who wants that. But what we were struggling with is having RSVP, we've got the Trouble Nation people coming through there. And then Teresa was having them RSVP to her Gmail account. And then so we're having all this data going these different places, and then having like for the newsletter to send it out, like having to like dedupe these different lists and stuff, which takes several hours. So that's where I was like, Teresa, we need a CRM. So that I talked her into to getting the CRM, which we have not implemented yet. We're going to in the next couple of months. But that really is going to manage the contacts. It will be the email service provider. So that's where we will deploy the emails through instead of sending it through Gmail, because if you send, you can't send 100 or 400 emails. Like you can't BCC all those email addresses through Gmail because it'll get flagged and it'll go to spam and nobody will get your emails. So you have to like know all of that. If you're going to send like emails to your groups, you have to do it in groups of like under 49, which is a total pain, right? So that's where a CRM comes in handy when you have like these larger groups of, these larger numbers that you're dealing with. So
here was another good one. How do you find subject matter experts for speakers for your meetings?
Ask people in your group. I'm just gonna say,
yeah.
as your group grows, number one, you're gonna find people who have expertise, and if they don't, they know people. People know people. That's why you build this community. And maybe you guys, Missy or Kelly, have a better answer than that, but
yeah, and you can always do like a Google search, like look for, thought leaders. Immigration attorney, see who has blogs, that's what thought leadership is all about, right? Look at their content. If nobody knows anybody, go there and see who has content. Looked on LinkedIn, see who is who's got content, who's got videos, you know, who's talking the talk, and invite them in.
How do you
And
figure
I
out
would,
what day and time works for your monthly meetings? Somebody was struggling with that for a little bit.
I think you can, well, a couple different ideas. I mean, number one, if you're the organizer, like you dictate the schedule and it has to work for you. But also, you know, you can play around and offer a few different ideas, including, you know, they don't all have to be in person. In person is the best, but sometimes if you pepper in a virtual meeting here and there, you might see some faces you don't get to see in person. Maybe they have family responsibilities, or they just can't get away for very long. So that might be an interesting way to meet other people. But you could, and then once you have a group, you could even share like a doodle poll or some kind of a poll to understand what days and times work best for people.
And I'll tell you, my local group, like we have like the first Wednesday of every month, and that's like our official meeting. But we also have a group that just every Tuesday morning they meet at Panera, and it's, you know, it's not an official meeting, but these women have become super close. New women come, sometimes they, you know, do something action oriented. Sometimes it's just getting there to vent to each other and drink some coffee. So you could also find people to break off and, you know, offer those kinds of options, even if it's not an official meeting. It's still building community and making people feel like they're part of the group.
All right. And then how do you deal with, fear and create a safe space for folk?
That's a good one. Um, I guess for fear, I mean, everybody has to do what's in their comfort zone, right? So I would never want anyone to do something that they don't feel comfortable doing. But that being said, I've also seen people who would never in a million years speak at a school board meeting, and we say, that's fine. You just come and sit and you watch. And they got so pissed off that they stood up and started speaking. So, you know, encouraging people just to do what is comfortable for them, and yeah, I'm hoping that's what you mean by fear, is like the fear of getting involved or like taking those next steps. I mean, there's
Or
always,
even folks who, may be from other countries that might be afraid to get involved for fear of being snatched. So,
yeah,
I,
for sure.
I do want to mention that, like, I mean, that is something, fear about personal safety and online security is something that we hear a lot from our members. And so one of the features that we have on the Trouble Nation platform as part of the events feature is that a lot of people, they do not want to make their events public. They don't even want to share the location of the event until they know who's RSVP'd and that they know that they're okay. And so there are ways on it's actually like quite easy on the platform to say, I'm not, this location is private, and then to only send the the location information to people who RSVP. If you wanted to go a step further, you could just say, like, we will contact you individually, or expect an email at some point within 36 hours of the meeting with the meeting location. So things like that can be helpful.
Yeah, and we do offer some trainings on security and cyber, you know, all the cybersecurity, the personal security. So there are like trainings and things that we can help you with there.
okay, that was the main one. See, you had answered somebody, Missy. You said many groups use a hybrid of the Trouble Nation platform and Facebook, although that's more work. So the person answered, this brings up the subject of spin-off groups, special topic interests, geographic, etc., thoughts and ideas. An education group formed an independent group, but now they don't join the larger group.
Um, so that is, so, I'd love to offer Alexandria. I will follow up with you after this meeting to offer a one-on-one, because I know it seems like there's some challenges that are facing your group. But I will say with spin-off groups, what we have found when they have been useful is when a group gets so big, like it does seem like maybe Tulsa is heading towards possibly some satellite groups or groups like that get so big. But if your group doesn't have a core group of people who actually actively participate, it's probably not the right time to do a spin-off group. Instead of that, if somebody's really focused on, education policy, maybe instead of encouraging a spin-off group is that, let's offer, a section of our meetings to focus on education policy, or we can vary the topics and make sure we focus on that frequently, but not only. So things like that. Kelly, it looked like you had something that you wanted to add. Is that?
Oh, no,
right?
sorry. I had to tell my daughter something.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
All right. Well, we are at time.
We're all multitasking. Great.
That's okay.
So
But that's what we do, right? That's
we
what women do.
multitask. Yes.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining. I hope you got some good information. We would definitely love to see you checking out Trouble Nation, talking to Missy, talking to her team. Kelly, thank you so much for sharing what you're doing. And we are just thinking of you there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and so proud of you. Everybody, we hope to see you soon at another event and have a really great rest of your evening. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.